What's up, guys? In today's video we're going to reveal the new project. Here she is. I know a lot of you guys probably aren't super surprised, but we got another CB550. So this bike is a little rough around the edges, as you can see, which is exciting to me because we got it at a really good price. So my budget for this build is going to be $2,500. That includes the bike, all of the parts. Obviously, I'm not charging myself for labor, so this does include kind of doing the work yourself. But that's going to be my budget for the bike, and we have kind of two main goals with this bike. One is to kind of keep all the cool original patina. I love the fact that this tank is like green and fades down to brown. Like, you can't fake that. But I want it to basically ride like a modern bike. So it's got to be comfortable. It's got to be reliable. We're going to do like electronic ignition. We're going to do upgrade voltage regulator rectifier. We're going to put a modern lithium ion battery. We're basically going to go through the whole bike so that it can be daily driven. You can jump on it whenever you want and take it for a ride and have fun with it. But I wanted to keep that cool vintage aesthetic. So we are going to do a lot of the same kind of things we've done on the past bikes of cleaning up the whole back end. We'll do a custom battery box. I want to put maybe dual sport tires on it because I want to be able to take this bike on kind of adventure rides, and if I come across a dirt road I don't want to have to turn around. And I haven't really built a bike with knobby tires on them before. So we're going to do that, and I think that kind of matches with the patina on the tank. So it's kind of a general overview of the bike. We'll start from the front. We definitely have two leaking fork seals. I believe this bike has been laid over on either one or both sides. We have a broken turn signal. We have the end of the bar is scratched up quite a bit. Obviously we have a pretty large dent in the tank. It didn't scratch anything, so I'm thinking that this was probably laid over like in a parking lot or while the bike was standing still, because it doesn't look like there's any scraping or anything. It just looks like it maybe fell on something and got dented. So I'm hoping we can figure out a way to pull that dent out. That way we can kind of keep the original paint and obviously get rid of the dent. The whole engine is just coated in grease and grime, and it's been well used and has been quite a long time since it's had any kind of clean. The odometer shows 36,000 miles. I don't know how accurate that is, but it could be. So this could be a relatively high mileage bike, which isn't a real big concern as long as the engine's in good shape. You know, the mileage of a bike this age really doesn't matter all that much, honestly. It's more to this point about how the bike runs and if we still have good compression. We still have the original, basically 4 individual pipe exhaust. This white seat, I've never actually seen one with a white seat. Normally they come with a black seat like the ones we've had before, but could be original. We see we do have a bent turn signal on this side. The bottom of the timing cover is scraped up, so I think it's been on this side as well. You can see the exhaust is pretty banged up. So I do believe the bike's been on its side at least once or twice, but not a huge deal because we'll be kind of tearing apart and replacing a lot of this stuff anyway. So this build is going to be more of an overview of me building the bike as opposed to kind of a how-to. If you look at my channel, a lot of the videos I've done before, I've covered a lot of rebuilding one of these bikes. Covered a video on fork seals and valve adjustments and carb syncing and all that stuff before. So this will kind of be more of a weekly videos is my goal, and kind of just have updates and kind of show you guys the process of what it takes to build a bike from this rusty old turd into a cool kind of Brat style. It's okay, so I'm calling it barn to Brat because that sounded pretty cool. It's not really going to be Brat style. It's going to be kind of I'm going to call it Classic Octane style because it's going to be kind of a Brat seat, but then it's going to have like tracker style handlebars, but then it's going to have knobby tires like a scrambler, and it's going to kind of be a mixture of all the bikes that I love, and hopefully it turns out pretty cool. So to keep this video going, we're going to go ahead and see if we can't get the motor started. So we're going to start off with checking to see if there's oil in it. Once we can verify that, I'm going to go ahead and throw a battery charger on the battery itself so we can see if we have some juice. Once we get those two things lined up, we can actually throw some power to it, see if the bike kicks over. If it does, then we can go into things like checking spark and all of that to see if we can't get this bad boy to run in who knows how many years. Just put oil in it. It was only a quart low. So what I'm going to do now is have the battery charger hooked up. I'm going to go ahead and pull off the seat and see if I can't remove the air box so that we can actually get into the inside of these carbs. I'm not going to pull them yet. I'm just going to get to the point where we can spray some starting fluid kind of down the throat of the carb just to see if we can get this thing to fire off. I don't know if we have any spark or anything like that yet. So just while the battery's charging up, I'm going to go ahead and get a few things removed so we can kind of move on to the next step once the battery's ready to give it a kick. The battery is at like 25%, which should be enough for us to at least see if it'll kick over. So I know that there's enough oil in it. Like I said, it was about a quart short. I just pulled off the air box and everything. The little kind of connecting tube is still in here just because you have to take more stuff apart to get it out. But I have a clear shot straight into each carb so I can spray some starting fluid down there. But right now I just want to check and make sure like the bike's actually going to turn over. When I turn the key on, my oil light turns on. Okay, headlight turns on, that's a good sign. Horn doesn't work, that's fine, we can work on that later. Let's see, oil. Yeah, we're gonna see if it'll turn over. Neutral light's not on, but I rolled the bike in here, so I know it's in neutral, so the switch must just not work. So let's see. Oh yeah. Sweet, so that turns over nicely. Sweet, we're not going to get a whole heck of a lot out of it with the battery being so low. Let's shut that off. What do we want to do next? Let's see if we're getting spark. So the way I'm going to test spark is super easy. I just pulled out this spark plug, which looks pretty rough. It's pretty rusty. You know, I was planning on replacing these anyway. We'll see if this sparks. If this one doesn't, I'm going to throw in, I have some spares that I know are good, just to make sure it's not the plug itself that's not working, but hell, it might even work. So we're just going to plug it in here, and then we're just going to hold the threads up to the side of the head and crank the motor and see if we get a little spark, and in theory not shock ourselves. So we'll turn the ignition on, we'll make sure the kill switch is on the run position. Alright, let's see if we get any spark. Fingers crossed. Oh yeah. It's a little weak, but that's kind of to be expected with how low our battery is, but she's sparking. So my gut says this bike has been run relatively recently. So I would say within the last couple of years, because I'm taking it apart and everything's coated in grease, but I think that's just from it being ridden. Like, I think the bike was just literally ridden a bunch. You know, it's got a good amount of miles on it, and then just parked and, you know, basically, I bought it from a guy who bought it from somebody else, and you know, who knows the last time somebody actually wrote it, but it actually seems like it's in pretty solid shape. I'm actually really surprised. And we're getting spark, so that's awesome. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let this battery charge up a little bit. I'm going to put this back together, and then we are going to spray some Go Juice down the carbs and see if we can't get this thing to at least give us a couple pops. All right, well, our battery's still only at 25%, so there's a good chance it doesn't have enough juice to spin it long enough for us to get it started, but I'm way too damn excited / impatient to wait for it to charge anymore. So I'm going to open the choke. Almost out of starting fluid. Give this a good squirt. All right. Let's see what we get, if anything at all. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on this oil light, that hopefully if it does fire, but that turns off. Shoot, let's see what happens. Oh yeah, that's got everything. Oh yeah, my oil light turned off. More squirt. I'm going to close the choke a little bit. Ooh, come on, baby. Yeah, no, our battery's getting too tired. Oh God, it's so close. Oh man, gonna have to let the battery charge a little bit more. All right, let the battery charge up a little bit. Let's give this thing another shot. Close the choke a little bit. Turn our key back on. Run position. Fingers crossed. I always do that. I always do that when I'm excited. That was awesome. Shoot. Yep, let's do it again. Oh yeah, that is good enough for me. All right guys, she freaking made noise. It was actually really easy, which makes me think that this bike probably ran within the last couple of years, because it was definitely started a lot easier than a typical kind of barn find would. Wasn't without issue. We have a good amount of oil coming out of the bottom. So I definitely need to dive into that, but that's kind of one of those things that we're going to have to clean up all the oil, then run the bike for a little bit. Then we can, one, change the old oil out, which I do intend on doing once I can have the bike run for a minute or two and kind of collect all the junk, and then I can drain it all out. And then once we clean it all off, we can see where it's leaking and kind of go from there. So in the next video, I am going to clean out the carbs, clean out the gas tank, and see if we can't get the bike to run and stay running. Then we can check things like the charging system and all of that. In the meantime, I've made a huge list of parts to order. Like I said, we're going to shoot 4 weekly videos on this. So I'm going to aim for Mondays. So every Monday for the next foreseeable future, we should have a video on the new Barn to Brat project. So let me know what you think. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to follow along. Check out my Instagram, and I'm super excited. We'll see you guys soon.